when you will first open After Effects, this is what you're going to see. This is the home page, right? Siddhi, you have a doubt? Oh. So this is the home page, right? You can see two options over here, a new project and an open project. Open project is basically when you've actually worked on a project before and you just want to continue that. New project is what we're going to use today. So whenever you want to start working on a new project, you click on new project, right? You get this screen. Okay. You get option to make a new composition or new composition footage. Uh, I always prefer to start new composition, right? So this is composition is basically what we'll talk about a little bit more later on, right? So first of all, this is where you're making your project, right? So first you open a project and then you make a composition inside of it. Composition can be understood as the base of what your entire project is, right? You need to make a base composition and then you can build the entire project on top of that, right? So I'm just gonna name this composition example. You can name it whatever you want. So first thing that we can see over here is width and height. This is what we were talking about. So 1920 by 1080 is full HD like we talked about. But if you want to make a project in 4K, right? Uh, you can enter the resolution at 3840 x 2160 or 2K 2560 1440. It depends on your footage and the system capabilities. But I always prefer to make my videos in 1080p because that is the most stable and it is widely accepted on all platforms, right? And along with that, if you have any problem, you can also use these presets. Um, but I would say I always prefer to, set things on my own, right? You do not need to touch any of this. The second thing that we talk about is frames per second. Now, this also depends on what you're trying to make. With motion graphics, you always need to, also depends on the project, but most of the time with motion graphics, you should go with 60 FPS because it, you turn out with a very smooth video, very smooth output. But yes, if you're working with camera footage or you're making a short film, then you need to go for 24 or 30 FPS. So today we're going to go with 60 FPS, right? And then this is the duration of your composition, the maximum duration. You can change this later on as well, but I'm going to start with 5 minutes for now. So this is basically milliseconds, seconds, minutes, and hours, right? And background color, you can leave this as well. You can change it if you want a base color. You can change it to anything, right? I'm going to keep it black for now. And you just need to press OK, right? So this is the basic layout. You might see something different on your screen. So over here we have certain panels, right? These are different panels which include different settings. I would say the most complete one is review. You can use this or you can use any one of them, which they're made for different purposes. But the well-rounded one is review, I would say. Okay. So on the right side, you have this panel. Okay, we're going to talk a lot about it later on. But first, I think we should talk about how we are going to import things, right? So to import footage, you right click over here. You're going to right click, right? You'll see new composition, new folder, new Adobe Photoshop file. Like I said, Adobe softwares work very well together. That's why you can, directly integrate a design or, anything a text file that you made in Adobe Photoshop directly over here. But you're going to go with import. Over here, you can import a file or multiple files at a time. If you want to import more than one file or even an entire folder. So what you need to do, you can either press Control I or you can right click and go to file. Okay. So suppose I made this example video and for that I have these clips from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer, just as an example. Once you import the clip, it comes over here. Okay. This is your project area. You have an effects control panel over here and a project panel over here. So right now you should only be concerned with the project panel. To get the footage in, you just need to drag it and drop it over here. This is your basic timeline. The timeline is basically where you work the entire time. Like we defined earlier, this goes from 0 seconds to 5 minutes because that is what we defined with the composition. If you want to change this later on, you can go over here at the top, go to composition and go to composition settings, right? You can change the duration to whatever you want. It can even be 25 minutes, right? Anything that you want.
Okay, where do you change the duration?
Okay, you go to composition at the top over here, right? You go to
Right.
composition settings,
Okay.
and then over here you have
Okay.
duration. This is the same panel that we opened while we were creating the project, right? You can change almost everything that you have selected at the beginning. So it's very flexible in that terms.
All right.
Okay. So what we're going to do first of all is you can see that over here we have example. This is the example composition. Composition, I would say, is more, think of it like a group of items or elements in After Effects. So you need to make a base group.
Layers.
Layers, yes. It is a group of layers. So the base layer is the first one that you make. When you click on new composition, you're making the base layer, right? On top of that, you can make another composition, another composition, right? So right now, we're working in the example composition, as you can see over here as well, right? So right now I'm going to drag my clip and drop it over here, or I can drop it directly over here, right? And as you can see, and this can be anything, not just a video. It can be a MP3 file, it can be a PNG file, right? It can be a JPG file. And all you need to do is just drag and drop to get that file, okay? To remove the file from the timeline, you need to press delete, or you can right click and okay, you need to press delete. You can get MP3 files over here.
Swastik, one more thing you can mention is timeline के अंदर zoom in zoom out कैसे करना है? Because
Exactly.
I think
Okay.
sometimes people get stuck in कि उनका seconds नहीं दिखाता, उनका frames में दिखा
Yeah.
रहा होता
So
है.
as you can see right
So
now,
yeah.
what we're looking at is there jumps of 0 to 15, 15 to 30, 30 to 45, 45 to 1, right? This goes to 1 minute, right? So to zoom in, when we're working on, specific things, suppose I want to cut only the first 1 second of this photo, or let's suppose I get the video back, right? I want to cut the first 1 second of the video. So I'm going to zoom in using using these icons. This one is used to zoom out, and this one is used to zoom in, right? Now we're going to come on to a very crucial part of the software, which is how do you cut things? So you not cut things over here in After Effects, you split things, right? So I'm going to zoom in so that I'm, exactly at 1 second. You can see over here, it says 1 second, right? If I go even one frame below, you can see 59. And can anyone tell me why does it say 59 and why not zero? I mean, why does it say 0.59?
Because one frame is equal to 1 second of because of
Exactly.
60
So
FPS.
as soon as it reaches 60th, as soon as it reaches the 60th frame, it shows us 1 second, right?
Also, one more thing. Understanding After Effects, you just need to understand that After Effects is all about layers. There are different layers on top of each other. So sometimes people, get confused because that ye dikhai nahi de raha, why is this layer not showing up? So when you work with, multiple layers, so like in complex projects, there are like 100, 200, even 300 layers sometimes. When you have, small objects, shape layers, multiple things, they stack up. So understanding After Effects, you need to keep practicing it so that you're not confused between ki ye layer kaun si hai, wo layer kaun si hai. That is why compositions are in help, which I think Swastik will further, introduce. So yeah, just understand that it is a layer-based, software. If you guys know DaVinci Resolve, if I don't know if anyone has used it here, DaVinci Resolve works in a node-based system. So that's different than After Effects. So just so that you don't get confused and you don't get lost between these softwares, it will take time for you to get used to the software, get used to the layers system. But once get a hang of it, it gets easy.
So this is how DaVinci Resolve actually looks, and it's very complex. So this is very different from what After Effects works on. After Effects and Premiere Pro usually work on a like Naitik rightly said, on a layer-based system. So back to what I was saying, the most crucial part is that you do not cut footage in After Effects, you split it, right? So we have a keyboard shortcut for this, right? You select the footage that you want to split, right? If you do not select anything and you press the shortcut key to split, it will split all the frames inside that. I'll show you an example for that as well. So right now, suppose the shortcut key is Control plus Shift plus D. Or on Mac, it's going to be Command plus Shift plus D. Okay. So if I right now, without selecting anything on my timeline, because nothing is highlighted, that means nothing is selected. And I just go ahead and press Control plus Shift plus D. As you can see, all the 3 layers have been split, and now those 3 layers have been converted into 6 different layers. And when these layers split, the relation between these two, there is no relation between the split layers. These are two completely different layers now. I can move this around, right? I can move this around. I can even delete this new one and it will have no effect on the original one, as you can see, right? So, and if I just select one layer, it is going to split only that specific layer. So if I go and press Control Shift D right over here, as you can see, only the first layer gets split. Has everyone been able to perform this? Does anyone have any doubts?
Can you tell how to open the photos or videos in the file?
Okay. So you're going to go right click over here. Always right click over here. Okay. It's
Yeah,
very important when you
the
right click.
panel he is dealing in is the project panel. If sometimes in After Effects you aren't able to see these panels, so for that you just need to click on window. You need to click on workspace, and sometimes if you just reset, there are different workspaces here. You can either choose I think what would be, I think you can choose effects, the effects one,
Okay,
workspace
as you
effects
can
one,
see,
and
we have
then you can
selected
reset it
project over
sometimes.
here. So sometimes what might happen, you might accidentally close this, right? You might actually accidentally close this panel, right? You cannot close the project panel, of course, or obviously you can. So you can go to window. If there's no panel over here for you, you can go to window and select project. So you can get this panel back. You go over here, you right click on this panel, specifically on this panel, and you click import file and you select the file. And over here, if you can see all the accepted files, which is a lot of files are, accepted by After Effects. So I don't think you're gonna have any problem with that. Once you do that, you click on that file and you click import, right? And if I want to import a folder with all the things, I can just click import and import folder over here, right? Okay. So is everyone clear with the concept of splitting? Splitting, like I said, if I just split without highlighting anything, without selecting anything, all the layers are going to get split. If I select a specific layer, only that layer is going to get split, right? And both these layers have no correlation or no relation with each other. They're completely separate layers now. Okay. Does anyone have any doubts? Okay. So let's come on to this panel, right? This panel is very important because this is where you control all your layers, right? So right now you don't need to open this panel because this is very complex. The first thing that you can see is that audio icon and this eye icon, right? This eye icon is basically visibility. If I click this right now, that means this layer is now hidden from view. If I click it again, this clip comes back into view, right? Now this is an MP3 file, that's why it does not have a eye icon, right? And if I click on the audio icon right now, as you can see, there is no audio. But as soon as I click on the audio button, you can see the audio starts playing. Has everyone understood this part, or do I need to repeat? Guys, some interaction would be very nice.
Understood.
Understood.
Okay.
If you guys have any doubts, any sort of problem, do not hesitate to reach us out, reach out to us, sorry. Because sometime at the start of, learning the software, you can easily get lost because there are a lot of panels, a lot of things in After Effects. So if you have any doubts, if you have any queries, please just DM us or ask us anything, even during the session. Do not hesitate.
One doubt.
Okay, what is the
Yes,
doubt?
Samir.
How do you like put the video at exactly like 0 frame? Because it just keeps going back. I can't like put it at exactly 0 seconds.
What do you mean? Can you repeat?
I can't like put the video at exactly 0 seconds. It just goes like back.
Okay, so you're saying your video is over here, like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can just drag it like this. And the best thing about this software, I think you might be zoomed out. If you zoomed out, it's harder to place the things accurately, right? If I want to place this
Right.
on exactly 1 minute, it becomes a little harder. But if I zoom in, I can see that it is not and I can then specifically place it. And the best thing about it is the easiest way, if you want to get it to the start, you can, this is the blue thing that you're seeing is called the playhead. This is, you can drag this around and this will preview what the video is going to play at that specific point of time. So when it is at 115, it shows that this video is going to show this particular frame at 115. So to get this to the start, I'll bring this to the start. I'll select this layer and I'll press the left square bracket. You know what the left square bracket key is?
Yeah.
As you can see, left square, right? And this can happen with multiple layers as well. I can, right? If I need to get all of them at 15 seconds, I'm going to zoom in, go exactly at 15 seconds, right? I'm going to select all these layers. You can select the layers from here. If you want to select multiple layers, you can hold down Control and then start clicking. And then once you've selected all of them, you can leave your mouse. You can click the left square bracket to get all of them at exactly 15.
So it like brings them at the playhead.
Yeah, it brings them exactly at where the playhead is.
Okay.
And if it keeps going back, that is one inconsistency, or I would say a flaw about After Effects, right? So you just need to, you can take your playhead and you can press the left key, left square bracket key. Does everyone understand this left square bracket thing?
Yes.
Okay. So there are a lot of shortcuts that go around that work around in After Effects, obviously you cannot learn all of them. Even I do not know all of them, you learn them as you go ahead, as you work ahead. Okay. So I'm going to take a break for 5 minutes. I'm going to go and drink some water. You guys can explore the software till then. And if you have any doubts, you can ask Naitik. Okay. So I'm back. Okay. So first thing I would like to say is that do not get overwhelmed by the software. I know there are a lot of panels, there are a lot of settings, but the best way to get around it is just ignore them for now. Once you get to learning the software, I would say me and Nether do not know even half the settings that are there in After Effects because there are so many that there's just so many things that you can do.
Yeah.
But we need to use the ones that are applicable to us at a particular point of time, at a particular level of skill, right? So at this point, you should only use the panels that we tell you about. And once you start exploring, once you start experimenting on your own, that is when you can, go ahead and uh, watch YouTube tutorials, you can Google, you can find out what each panel does, right? So I think this is the very basic of things. Obviously, each of these has a big drop down, and this can look a little bit intimidating. But right now, we're going to focus on this later on. These are basically properties of the videos, just to show you a glimpse. We can change the position of the videos or the images from here, right? Obviously, Control Z works throughout the software. If you've made a change that you do not like, you can just press Control Z to go back, right? And you can press Control Shift Z, Control plus Shift plus Z to redo. Suppose you know Control Z something and you want to get the thing back, so you can just press Control Shift D, Z. So Control Shift D. If you want to write this down, you can write this down. Control plus Shift plus D is for splitting the videos. Control C, Control V works normally like copy and pasting. You can copy and paste about just about anything in this software. I can cut. Okay, I can cut this video. I can place it over here. Right? Copy pasting works. Then Control Z to undo changes, right? And Control Shift D to redo changes. And if if you're not comfortable with the shortcut keys, you can go to edit over here. You can cut, copy, paste, clear, duplicate, split the layer even, right? Select all
What's the shortcut to zoom? Like, is it the same as Premiere Pro?
what do you want to zoom onto? If you want to zoom onto the preview, right? You can press Control and scroll wheel ahead to zoom in and scroll wheel down to zoom out.
No,
This
like I
does
was
not work
talking
with the
about the
timeline.
timeline. Yeah.
There's no shortcut for that. You need to do it manually.
Okay.
At least I don't know the shortcut. I just do it manually. It's way more convenient and way more precise that way, right? But what you're seeing over here, everyone, this is the preview. Okay, this is the preview. Now this preview you can obviously set it to whatever you want, whatever zoom length you want, whatever is comfortable for you. To quickly do it, you can just press Control, hold down Control, and use your scroll wheel. Or if you're on a mouse pad, you can scroll up and down to zoom and zoom out. This is very helpful when you're working very precisely with shapes or you want to perfectly position something, right? Okay. So over here, you're going to see something like full, half, third, and quarter. This is basically the preview resolution. If I set this to full, that means this is the quality. This is how it's going to look when I finally render things. So basically, when we're essentially making anything in the software, what we're seeing is a very rough version of it. It is not the final output version of it, because if you start running things in the final version, software will become very laggy. You won't be able to work. It won't run smooth at all. To ensure that it runs smoothly, when I press play, it should run smoothly. Right. As you can see, the video is lagging a little bit. The audio is lagging behind. That is because I'm running it at full.
Swastik, audio नहीं आ रहा है, if you could reshare. Also, After Effects lags because it's dependent on RAM. So if your RAM memory is around 8 GBs, it will there'll be a little bit of problem while editing in After Effects. If it's 16 GBs, it's better than 8 GBs. Obviously, it helps you a lot, but there is still a lot of error because After Effects is a software. It takes a lot of space, it takes a lot of RAM, and it needs good graphics cards and CPUs to run smoothly. Even on my laptop, I think I have an i9 4060 and 16 GB RAM. It still lags when there are multiple layers. So I mean, it will lag on your side. It is very frustrating sometimes. But if you just reduce the quality to like of the preview quality to
But
half
yes,
or
there's one thing to
quarters.
note. When we started learning on computers that could not handle the software. And
Exactly.
that's what you need to learn on as well if you do not have it right now. Because the software can run is just a little bit frustrating to get through it. गुस्सा आता है बहुत बार क्योंकि ये चल लैग करता है बहुत ज्यादा. But yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So like I was talking about the resolution. Neil, do you have a doubt? Like I was talking about the resolution, it's better to run it at half or third or even quarter if your PC is not able to handle it, right? The lower it is, the worse it will look, but yes, it will run more smoothly. But once we get to rendering, rendering is basically getting the final version of what you edited. This is the highest quality version of it. So to render things, basically, I'm going ahead a little bit. But suppose I want to, basically I'm just gonna do some basic edits to this video just to show you that, I've done some editing. I'm just gonna make some cuts, maybe random cuts. To delete anything, you just need to select that part, delete, right? Suppose this is I just need to cut some footage. I've cut it together and I've put it, right? And now I want to render it. So my next step is gonna go to file, okay? I'm gonna go to export and I'm gonna go to add to render queue. Can everyone see this on their side? Karthik, do you have a doubt?
Yeah, I have a doubt. Is it possible for clips to move in between layers or is it stuck to one?
Okay. No, you can move this. You can move this layer above. Okay. As you can see, I'm moving the layer up and down. Right. Is that what you mean?
Not really. In the timeline, can the clips go to another layer as such?
You want basically what you wanted to say that these two clips can be in the same line.
Yeah, can be merged or something. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
there's no
no, I
point.
think
That does not have any functional reason to do that. That's
yeah.
something that
So
happens in
actually,
Premiere.
yeah, this is what happens in Premiere. So Premiere is actually a little bit different from After Effects in this, because of the season. Because in Premiere, if you see the Swastik, can you open the interface एक बार, for Premiere? So Premiere, what happens in Premiere Pro is that there are different. I forgot the name of it. It's not layers, I would say, but it's like a channel. There's a channel called V1. Then there's a channel V2, V3, V4. So those are different channels in which you can add multiple items, and that forms a layer. So this is not what happens. This is not. This doesn't
So
happen in After
what
Effects.
After Effects is sequential editing because you're creating a sequence of layers, right? अब
Right.
एक के बाद एक करते हो इसके अंदर इन बेसिकली उसके अंदर चैनल्स लाइक नैतिक सेड प्रीमियर के अंदर आप एक साथ कर सकते हो उनको बट इसके अंदर देयर इज नो फंक्शनल सेंस और बिकॉज लाइक वी सेड आफ्टर इफेक्ट्स बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाते हैं उसके प्रोजेक्ट्स तो दिस इज अ बेटर वे टू वर्क इट दिस इज अ बेटर वे टू वर्क इन सॉफ्टवेयर लाइक आफ्टर इफेक्ट्स वेयर द कॉम्पोजिशन और वेयर द प्रोजेक्ट गेट्स वेरी क्राउडेड जो हमने वीडियोस दिखाए अभी उसके अंदर बहुत क्राउडेड हो जाता है एंड फॉर दैट matter we also have compositions like I said you make a base composition which is the group of all the layers so over here what we're working is in example is a base composition so now like Karthik wants both of these layers to be in the same line right it does not have any functional difference but yes if I want to group these together I can because suppose if I have 100 layers right to make them, to make them understandable to someone else. If me and Naitik are working together on a project, he's not gonna know. He's not gonna even understand what I'm working on because everything is so cluttered. To make it easier for him to understand, what I can do is I can select one layer and, like I said, control click the other to select multiple layers at a time. Like I said before, you right click them and you select on pre-compose. This is basically the version of grouping in After Effects. You cannot group things in After Effects. You can pre-compose them. I can name this pre-comp. We call it as a pre-comp in short form instead of a pre-composition, right? A composition is also known as a comp. Okay, I can name this as group one just for your. You can name it anything. This is just for your reference. I can click OK, and this forms a group. So what? As you can see, this is only form the composition up till the point of the last clip. Now I can open this composition. I can open this group, right? And you can see I have the clips over here. So in the base composition, it seems like there's only one clip, right? But when you dig deeper, you see that it is actually a composition or a group of two layers. I can even, okay. So now, if I want, now talking about exporting, like I was talking about rendering is the final version of your video. You can render only one composition or you can render the base composition with all the other compositions. So right now I'm gonna render the main composition, right? I'm going to go to file, I'm going to go to export, I'm going to go to add to render queue. Once you get here, you will see a lot of settings over here, right? The render settings, you do not need to touch these, you should just go with whatever the default is. If you want to change the output mode, I think you should just leave these alone. These are there are some advanced things. You can just change the output destination. You can change the output name. I can name this as, training grounds example video, suppose. So it's gonna export an MP4. The only thing that you need to take care of, suppose if you want another format, instead of MP4, you want an MP3. So okay. Yeah, okay. So you can click over here, format. You can take an H.264 or an MP3, okay, or a WAV file, but most of the time H.264 is the default and you should stick with that. You can click OK and you can just go to render. So what this is going to do, this is going to give you the final version of your video, of the video that you edited. So does anyone notice anything wrong about what I'm rendering? Does anyone notice anything wrong about this? Maybe over here. Yes, Karthik.
The export time is more than what you actually edited. Like the total length is more than what you actually had edited inside.
Exactly. So what After Effects is going to do, until and unless you tell it to stop, it's not like Premiere Pro. When you work in Premiere Pro, you don't need to set up. There's not a variable. You need the length is variable of of the project over there. So as long as the content that you made, that is the part that is going to render. Otherwise, everything else is going to cut it out. But what After Effects does, because what we said in our example composition, we set it to 5 minutes, right? So as you can see, even in the preview, it's going to render a black screen. So for the first 25 seconds, 25.44 seconds, it's going to show whatever we've edited. After that, it's just going to render a black screen. To tell it to stop at a particular moment, either you can go ahead and manually go to composition, go back and change the duration. But this is not what we commonly do. What we do is we go to the last frame, right? And we press N. So what this does is it tells After Effects that this is where this composition ends. After this, you do not need to render anything else. So now if I go into render, okay, and I try to render it, as you can see, it only says 1584 frames, which if you multiply and actually apply the maths, that is what you will end up with as well, because 25, what you want to do is 25 seconds into 60. That will give you what 1500, and on top of that 44, so 1544 or 84, yeah. So you do not need to take you don't need to know all this, but yes, these are the very basics upon what it works. इससे कुछ काम नहीं आएगा ये, but yes, it is good to know, because a lot of times when you're working with these softwares, you'll run into a lot of bugs and a lot of glitches. So now if I go to my downloads folder, you can see the example MP4 video. This is the final quality.
I can hear you being quiet, Mom.
This is the highest quality video
Just
that
those words in
that
that
we
order.
made. This is the final quality. There is no compression. There is no, there is no descaling in this like it was in After Effects, because over here, like I said, it needs to run smoothly. That's why that happens. Now, okay. Now, does anyone have any doubts till now? Is anyone confused about compositions or exporting? I think it was a pretty complex thing. If anyone has any doubts.
After you have rendered the video, where did you export it from?
Okay, so over here, once you go and do file, export, and add to render queue, you can select where you want to. You can select, I can set it on the desktop, I can set it on downloads, I can set it in documents, wherever you want, and just save. Okay.
Right.
Has anybody tried to export something? One thing to note is that depending on your computer, it might take a lot of time to export. It depends on your GPU and your CPU as well as your RAM. Anyone? Guys, please respond something.
I have not.
Just exporting.
Okay. Aradhya, have you tried? Devanshi, Harshil leaving. Uh, Mohit Lal, Nisha, Nishika, Ridhima.
I haven't, वो बहुत देर लग रही थी.
Okay, it'll
No
take some
worries.
time.
Yeah.
Time लगेगा उसमें, but it's working, right? It's progress bar बढ़ रहा है ना
It
आगे.
is. Yes, yes.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to another thing that is text, which is very important, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click over here at the top. You can see the text tool, right? Or instead of that, you can press Control plus T to get the text tool. So I can type out anything, Spider-Man, whatever, right? Now over here, once you type, okay, on the right side panel, you will see a properties section open up. Okay, you can select the font family over here. You can select the, the weight of the font. You can select the size. You can select the character spacing. You can select the color, right? You can add a stroke. You can elongate the text. You can widen the text. Does anyone have any doubts with this? Okay, so once you make a text layer, it shows up over here. Okay, you can obviously you can split any layer that you have on After Effects. Each and every layer is splittable. Okay, so now you can see that it's only worth about a few seconds. I can place it wherever I want. So once you go into the text, once you click the text button, your cursor will change into a text box. Wherever you click, a new text box will open, right? To convert it back to go to the cursor, you can either press V or you can click this button over here. Because this is the selection tool, this is what you're going to use. Because if I continue to use this, I cannot work properly. I cannot move anything. I can only form a text box. So to move properly, if I want to move this element, I need to press V on my keyboard so that I can move this around. Okay. Now, another important thing, you can go over here to align, right? You can press align. You can press this button to align it horizontally and then press this button to align it vertically. So that now it is in the center, or I could align it towards the left, towards the right, towards bottom, anything, towards top, center in the top, right? Any doubts?
Just about how do you move it?
You're going to press V on your keyboard to get the selection tool or the default tool if you're on text mode, right? You need to get the cursor back by pressing V and then you can just drag it around.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes what happens is like after you type a text, so for example, you've just written Spider-Man, if you then press V, then it'll, still be a part of that text. So you need to first like escape the text box and then
Yep.
you need to click V so that the shortcut actually
If I
works.
if I show an example of what Naitik is saying over here, if I press T to get the Control T to get the text tool, right? And I write a text over here, suppose ABC. Now, if I try to press V, this is what's going to happen. So I need to press Escape. Like, I need to press outside of it, or I can just to get the selection tool back.
Escape the one.
Right.
Yeah.
By pressing Escape, I've gotten out of the text, and now I can just press V. You can try this around in software yourself as well. You go over here, you type ABC or whatever, you go and press Escape. Okay. Any doubts?
Yes,
Sound
Samar.
good?
Okay, अभी देख क्या हुआ? It showed like After Effects out of memory. Does it mean like laptops out of memory and just crashes everything?
Yeah, okay. So that is going to happen. So what you can do is you can go to edit. If anyone's After Effects is saying that it's running out of memory, so you can go to edit, right? Preferences, and you can go to memory and performance. So this will open up a tab where you can select the amount of RAM you want to allocate.
Swastik, it's not visible. Uh,
It's loading.
Acha. Okay.
Okay. So as you can see, you can select the RAM reserved for other applications. I have 16 GB, so I reserve 3 GB for other applications. The lesser it is, the better After Effects will run, and the higher it is, the better other applications will run, and the worse After Effects will run. So if I set this to like what, okay, 14 GB, then the RAM reserved for After Effects is only 1 GB, which is not enough. So you need to give it at least 4 GB or 6 GB to run, right? This is for anyone whose laptop is not able to run the software properly. Okay. So to change the font family, you can go ahead, search for any fonts, or you can obviously go and download a font from Google, download and install that font and use that. Okay. You can change the colors, like I said. Also, now in this project panel, what we can do is also create folders. What I can do is I can create a composition folder, because whenever you create a composition, it creates it over here as well. So this is the base composition. This is the group one composition that we made. Yes. So we can select these and drag it into the compositions folder. Right. We can make a new folder by the name of video clips. Right. This does not change how your video looks, but yes, it makes it easier when you're working on big projects to organize everything. I can make another folder by the name of images, right? And drag it in. Okay. Now another thing that you can do is you can create a solid. So there's a debate. It is very different wherever you click. A different pop-up menu comes up. Like I said, when you click on the project panel, you get an option to import. When you right click over here in the composition panel, you get an option to make a new item. So over here, you need to go and select a solid. A solid is basically it covers the entire frame. You can make it any color. This is usually used to add effects on top of videos. If I if I want um a white background right now, so instead of making a new composition for it, I can just add a new solid. Okay, so let's do something interesting which might um okay, so what we can do is we can actually make After Effects with a lot of preset animations for text and a lot of things for videos as well. So on this right panel, you select your text first, okay? And you go to effects and presets. You go into text over here, okay? You go into animation presets at the top. So you get a whole lot of options over here. So if you're working with text, you need to select text, right? So if I want to get a animate in, this is very similar to what you get in PowerPoint, but obviously way more robust. And to be honest, we do not use these very often. We usually animate by ourselves, but that is something that we're going to talk about in later sessions. So suppose I just want, you know, anything random, straight up lines. So you just need to drag and drop it onto your text. So once I do that, sorry. So by dragging and dropping, as you can see, it has automatically added an effect. This is a very simple effect. We can add even, some interesting ones. I mean, you're never going to use this actually, but yes, this is something that you can, when you're starting out, you can use these. You can add a typewriter effect. You can, you can make it, so that it blurs inside or any random effect. You can try these out for yourself. So now we've gone over how we're going to import videos. We're going to trim those videos and sequencing those videos. So now, like we talked, what you can do is I can get this video over here, right? I can cut it up and I can drag these layers wherever I want, right? Another very neat trick is for that, because if you're taking out certain portions of the trailer or whatever clip you're using, sometimes you might end up like, you might end up like something like this. So wherever you have a very cool option in After Effects, what you can do, if I want all these layers to start from here, I can select the first layer and go up to the last one, select them one by one, right? Control, press. I can right click, I can go into keyframe assistant, and what this will do is just put them together, as you can see. And if I want them at the start, I can press the left bracket button like I told you guys before. You can go into keyframe assistant and sequence layers. Okay. And once you do that, as you can see, they've been sequenced automatically. This comes in very handy when you're working with a lot of clips. I actually made an example video to show how you can use these tricks and tips to make maybe a normal edit. Um,
Swastik also, when you also look at the time, it's 8:05. So we, delayed the start a little, so we'll extend the session a little bit. We'll finish it as soon as possible, and we'll get, give you some homework for the next session as well.
okay. So as you can see, this is a little bit more complex, but as you can see, it's just a sequence of clips, very basic, if I would say. But yes, complex by by when you're starting out. As you can see, it's just a sequence of layers. I made a very simple edit. So what I did essentially was I made two compositions. I made two groups, right? One for one trailer and the second for another trailer. I imported the trailer inside. I'm going to show you what I did. Suppose this was the first trailer. Yeah, I got it inside. I drag and drop it over here. Suppose I like this first scene. I'm gonna cut that, right? And then I like this scene. I'm gonna split that. Okay. I did not like this part, so I'm just gonna press delete. So like this, I selected clips, by dragging my playhead throughout scrubbing. This is what when you drag your playhead throughout the entire video or your timeline, it is called as scrubbing. Just a technical term that you might like to use. Okay. Suppose I like this scene. Once again, we can use the sequencing layer trick that I just showed you guys to make it easier. Suppose these are all the clips that I've taken. I'm gonna select all of them, right? I'm gonna right click, keyframe assistant and sequence layers. Now I've got them in a sequence. Now I'm gonna go back to my base composition. And what I did was I cut the certain clips that I, split over here. I cut them by pressing Control X and I pasted them at the perfect time over here. Uh, at the time that I wanted. So this turned out to be like this. So very basic. I just started normal, audio in the background. You can easily do this. I would actually like all of you to, maybe take any movie or any show, take its trailer or any clips from it, go home, when you're free, right? Download that using the tools that I showed you before. Use those tools, download the videos, import them into After Effects, split them up, and maybe just put them in front of a background music. Nothing much. This is a very good point to start at. If you want to slow down the speed of certain clips, you can do that as well. You can click on the video, you can right click, you can go time, and you can go time stretch. So stretch factor, the higher it is, the slower the video gets, and the shorter it is, the faster the video gets. So you can use this to make time lapses or slow-mos, right? If I want to,
Hello, Swastik. Um,
I have it.
Good evening, everyone. This is just a reminder that the prog session is just about to be started. So kindly join the meeting just after this session.
We're just
And
gonna end
Swastik,
in
please
8
wrap it up.
minutes. Yeah, we're ending in 8 minutes. Okay. So as you can see, I've doubled because earlier, as you can see, the stretch factor was 100. Now I've turned it to 200. That just makes it double. You can make it whatever length you want. So now, as you can see, it turns into snow. Also, the audio is weird on this. So what you can do, you can take those clips, you can mute them out because the audio might not sound good with the background music. You can take a background music, anything that you want, and you can show it to me. If I think you have potential, we can even get you into Tech Syndicate, directly into Tech Syndicate. We need a lot of video editors. There's a lot of work for video editors here at Tech Syndicate. A lot of competitions just for video editing. So whatever I'm gonna share, whatever I've covered today, I'm gonna share this PPT as well with each and every one of you. Naitik is gonna share the videos that we showed you guys, and the recording as well is gonna get uploaded. If, if anyone has any doubts right now, they can tell me, or anything else that they found in the software they're curious about. I can talk about that as well. So in the next session, just a glance at what we're gonna look in the next session is keyframing. So keyframing is basically, if you remember the animation that I showed you, this exact one. So what is happening is we've made to make these animations, to make this blue box move from point A to point B, we use keyframes. So we're going to talk a lot about it in detail in the next session. Yeah. Any doubts? Anything? If anyone has any had problem downloading After Effects? Any doubts?
Once again, guys, you'll only learn the software properly after you keep trying to do something or trying to create something. You can explore the software on your own. You can find tutorials on YouTube, and you can although you need to be careful on what tutorial you see, because sometimes some tutorials can baffle you. They can be too hard, or they can be too difficult to
But please try
understand.
to do the task that I've given you, try and go home when you're free, try and take a show or a movie that whatever you like, download its video, download its trailer, split the clips and put it in front of a music and see what comes up.
Yeah.
You can we can actually see them together in the next session.
You have, I think, both our numbers on the WhatsApp group, and if you're on the Discord, you can have our ideas as well. So if you have any doubts, any things, you can DM us, message to us, anything. We'll be there to help you. Yeah. So I think we can end the session then.
I think no doubts. I'm guessing.
When
Samar,
is the next
Karthik.
session?
Yep.
Yes,
The
sir.
next
When is the next session?
Saturday. Next Saturday.
Yeah.
Next one.
If okay, now we'll talk about it later then. Yeah. Okay then. Thank you, everyone.
No,
Thank
that-
you.
Thank you, everyone.